2 weeks ago, I woke up in the morning to get ready for school, as usual. Because I live in a small village, there's no bus that drives to my school. So I always have to drive with my bike about 4 miles. As I didn't want to drive alone, a friend of mine would drive with me to school every day. One morning, me and my friend would meet up at our place. Driving to the place, I wasn't feeling well, and my friend was waiting when I got to the place. We drove along through the woods and made some jokes about what was going to happen at school today. As we were driving, I heard some sticks cracking, and I thought nothing about it. Seconds later, I heard it again, and again, and again, and again. I asked my friend if he heard that too. He said, "No, why?" 1 minute later, I heard it again, but louder. I asked my friend, "Did you hear that?" But he said no. And the second after that, I saw a tall-like figure running just on the right of me. My heart got frozen. I screamed in my head as I saw that face. Everything was in the wrong place. The nose was above the eyes. The mouth was wide open, and the eye sockets were empty. I instantly passed out. 1 hour later, I woke up in a hospital with my friend sitting to the right of me and my mom to the left. My friend said that I fainted and fell to the ground and I had broken my left leg. The day after that, I laid in my bed with pain because of the broken leg. I had to take strong painkillers. Later that day, I laid in my bed and tried to sleep. As I was slowly passing out, I heard scratching on my window. I looked, and then I saw the face of the figure. I froze instantly. The figure was just scratching with its long fingers on the window and smiled with a wide mouth. I blacked out again. I woke up in the morning with pain in my leg. I rolled to my left and took my painkillers. After that night, I never saw or heard anything of that figure again. I told my friend everything, and surprisingly, he said that he saw something like that in one of his dreams. I still don't know what that figure was and why my friend had a dream about that thing. I put down my blinds and shut my window at night. Always. Now we have a bus that brings us to school. I didn't tell my mom about this, and never will.
Hey, my name is Valerie, and I'm about to tell you about a really uncommon situation that I'm going through. I honestly can't imagine that you've heard of anything like it before, and I'm afraid you won't understand. I barely understand it myself. 2 years ago, I graduated from high school. My boyfriend Jeff and I spent our last year of school doing lots of odd jobs so we could save up money for our trip. We love adventure, and we'd planned to travel all around the United States for 6 months together. We wanted to go everywhere. This was going to be our last trip together, and we really wanted to enjoy it. Afterwards, we were going in separate directions. Jeff was going to stay in Florida, and I was heading to Washington, D.C. for college. We weren't breaking up, but you know how long-distance relationships are. Even if it worked out, it wasn't going to be the same. The trip was amazing. Honestly, like the best thing I've ever done in my life. And surprisingly, we didn't have a lot of problems on the trip, and we barely fought, literally not even once. You know how incredible that is? We were just happy to be in the moments, without parents or duties, just living day by day. But I was so focused on the places that we were visiting that I totally forgot about my period. Yeah, I know that you should pay attention to it, but time passed so fast I couldn't remember that my period hadn't come in 3 months. By the time that I remembered, I didn't have any pregnancy symptoms. My belly was just like it was before the trip, and therefore I didn't really pay much attention to it. Maybe my cycle was being irregular, I don't know. We kept traveling for the next 2 months, and then finally the 6 months had passed by and our trip was over. I spent a few days in Florida packing and saying goodbye to my family and friends. Then I went to Washington, D.C. alone. I wanted my mom to come help me, but she said if I was capable of traveling around the country for 6 months with my boyfriend, I was capable of going to college and settling down. Makes sense, I guess. But I was alone, and it took me a while to get some stuff and get settled into my dorm. But when I finally did settle down, it had been like a month. And with everything on my mind and all these huge changes, I forgot about my period again. And then it hit me. I hadn't had a period for like 6 months. I could understand going like 2 or 3 months, but 6? This was not normal. But if I was pregnant, like 6 months pregnant, wouldn't I have a huge belly? And I didn't. My tummy had grown in the past few months, but I thought it was due to like anxiety or the freshman 15 or whatever. It wasn't a pregnant woman's belly. But still, I thought I should go to the doctor and see what was going on. Maybe they could give me a prescription or something to regulate my cycle. So I made an appointment the day after I realized this situation. First, the doctor asked me some questions. Then he checked me up and ordered some tests. He didn't think I was pregnant because, like I said before, I didn't have a big belly or anything like that. Therefore, he didn't even ask me to do an ultrasound. But a little later, the test results came in and I was pregnant. This wasn't in my plans. Immediately, I went back to the doctor's office and he made me take an ultrasound. And I could notice he was just super confused when he was looking at the sonogram. I didn't understand what was going on, and he wouldn't tell me anything. So then he left suddenly and ran out of the room. I wasn't listening to his conversation, but he was talking with someone on the phone, and it was clear that he was talking about me, which made me really worried. He came back and he said he'd called another doctor to help advise on my case. What? We waited a little while, and then the other doctor showed up. He was watching the sonogram with his partner, and they both looked super astonished. And it was awful. They were being so silent, and it was really awkward. I couldn't take it anymore. My patience had run out, and I demanded that the doctors